Thank you. Good morning, Green Sports Alliance. How is everybody? I just want to say how honored I am to be able to moderate this panel this morning, a panel of lovely, inspirational, and intelligent young women. So let's dig in. Let's start with Riley. Riley, tell us about what NASCAR released this past spring and where you're headed with it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very excited to be here, humbled to be around such incredible leaders in this space, and really it's a testament to the leadership at NASCAR under Steve Phelps for the investment that we're about to make in sustainability, and I'm excited to talk about our sustainability strategy. In April, we launched NASCAR Impact, which is an inclusive brand of all of our community impact-driving work, including sustainability. We committed to net zero operating emissions by 2035, which is for us Scope 1 and Scope 2. Our race fuel is included in the Scope 1 emissions as well. And a little known fact about NASCAR is, for some people, is we actually own 15 of the racetracks that we race on every given weekend, which is about half of our races on any annual schedule. And so really wanting to figure out how we can button up our operations and make our tracks more efficient and sustainable. And so with the 2035 goal, we also set a series of 5-year targets to ensure that we're progressing towards the metrics that we're hitting. The main one being by 2028, sourcing 100% renewable electricity at all of our owned racetracks and facilities. And so already working on what our renewable energy strategy looks like there. Implementing recycling at all of our events, tracks and facilities and offices as well. Installing EV charging stations across all of our properties. And then committing to publish an annual impact report in the coming years that will track our progress towards these metrics and help set new goals as we continue to build out our Scope 3 strategy as well.
Thank you, Riley. Brittany, tell us about what ideas and innovations are driving your work now.
Yeah, so as many people probably know, Moda Center is LEED Platinum certified, but I think right now what we're thinking about more is how do we think beyond that LEED certification now that we have for years been benchmarking and tracking and verifying our performance, but how do we think beyond that, especially in a venue setting? How can we take advantage of the unique opportunities we have? And one of the ideas right now that's top of mind of us is the circular economy, and how do we leverage our unique opportunity as a venue to actually create a closed loop system within our own venue. And so that's thinking too beyond compost and recycling, which will always have a place in arenas and I think should be top priority for all venues. But how do we think beyond that and actually eliminate single-use items in the first place that we're creating? And for us, that's where reuse comes in. We actually launched a pilot reusable program on one of our premium levels this past season. So we implemented reusable foodware at 4 of our concession stands in collaboration with Bold Reuse, who is local to the Portland area. And we, through that, just with 4 concession stands using reusable foodware trays, we were able to eliminate 10,000 single-use items for the season, which is really awesome. So imagine us scaling that to the full arena. We can have an even bigger impact. And I will say that it wasn't without its challenges, but I think us taking on this initiative and trying and seeing where those challenges are is the most important thing, just starting. And we were actually able to address our challenges. We had a 50% return rate on the reusable containers when we initially launched, but by the end, with some adjustments, education at point of sales, retrofitting our collection bins, we were consistently hitting a 90% return rate on all of our reusables, which is really awesome. And we are just looking forward to taking those lessons learned into the future and expanding this program further and hopefully setting an example for the industry.
Thank you, Brittany. Very impressive. Samantha, tell us what is changing about private events and sustainability at the center?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you would have told me 2 years ago that I was going to be on a sustainability panel, I would have told you that you are crazy because I am a salesperson by nature and trade. I've been in the NFL for 12 years for 4 different stadiums, and our building opened 3 years ago, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Billboard's #1 stadium, just tremendous venue to open. And we took the stance that somebody in sales and marketing was going to lead this initiative. And please know that I am not up here on my own. We have an incredible consultant that supports our efforts, an amazing facilities team. But as the salesperson in the venue, my job is to amplify what we're doing. And it was said best to me yesterday that my job is to bring sustainability to the table across every department, revenue generating and operations, to make sure that what we're doing is amplified across the entire venue. What I specialize in at Allegiant Stadium is private events. And every single one of your venues has a private events team. If they don't, they should. It's why we're here today at Climate Pledge hosting a meeting, a corporate event. It's why we did the reception yesterday at Lumen Field, which was just a fabulous space. This is as well. But in Vegas, corporate events are big, big, big business to the tune of $30 million. It's widely because of what we have in our backyard. We are located a minute from the Las Vegas Strip, and Vegas is all about conventions and meetings. So when you have that sort of market, and when you're on a Tuesday night hosting an event for $4 million, there's a lot of attention on that department. So as a salesperson, Sales 101 is you speak in terms of what your client is interested in. 5 years ago, clients were just interested in price. And that's still true to this day. But do you know the second question I'm asked is, what are your sustainability initiatives? What is your venue doing to be more sustainable so that when I bring in my event, I can speak to it in a positive way? You know, when you have these Fortune 500 companies spending this much money and generating this much waste at an event, they want to be able to say that it was diverted, that we did so in a responsible way. So my job is to take sustainability and tie it into that corporate business. And I can tell you that there are 4 events this year that we would not have booked if we were not a sustainable venue. One in particular was a $3 million program. When we hosted the site visit, I'm used to getting on stage and speaking to the group. They didn't want to hear from me. They wanted to hear from our consultant. They wanted Alder Tree Consulting to come and speak to them about how their program was going to be sustainable in our venue, because that is what they cared about. And if we did not have that person to come and be the expert in that field and to speak to what we were going to do at their venue, we would not have won their business. And that's why sustainability is so important to our program.
Thank you. Yes, please do applaud.
For $3 million.
It's great, thank you. So Sophie, tell us, what is the culture today versus 3 or 4 years ago?
Hello, everyone. That's a great question. Our culture today versus 3 years ago, and from a metric perspective, we would say is 10-90, 90-10. A few years ago, we decided to pursue becoming the world's first certified zero-waste venue at a platinum level, which was deemed as unlikely given that we are located in the Southeast, where it's not the behavior of our fans, it's not the behavior of our team members. There are no legislative incentives in place to really encourage us to do it. But we were able to accomplish that in a place where it was deemed unlikely. And about a month ago, we received our recertification for continuing to maintain operating this way, no matter what size event we have. And I think what that speaks to is our culture. The results in sustainability are a direct result of the way we collaborate as an organization. You know, we mentioned being at the table, ensuring that the topics are being brought up. That is so instrumental, because now the way that ideas are coming about in our organization, they're not coming from the sustainability team. They're coming from everyone, our sales team, operations team. I want to give a shout out to my colleague James, who's here, our director of engineering. And I know there's a lot of operators here, and we all play an important role in achieving these results. And again, kudos to James and his team for allowing our team to come to his shop, of 40 of his guys, and just really have a huddle specific to sustainability. And we talk about culture, it's all about intent. And so we went into his shop and chatted with the guys and said, guys, what do we need to do in order to ensure you guys put things in the right bins? We don't want to get better at sorting. We want to limit the need for it by reducing contamination. And how can we set you all up with success? Back of house should be fully clean because it's us. What we can't fully control is our concourses, where our guests can change depending on what the demographic is. And so the huddle was a success. By the time we left, they were asking us for additional things in the plant room. And then 2 days later, I ran into another of the team members, and he said, you know what? The guys are going to get it together. I told them, if they can't figure out how to throw things in the right bin, I'm going to volunteer them to come out there and help sort for an hour. And I was like, oh my God. And that was his idea. I'm not forcing him. So I think culturally, it's about bringing everybody on board, making it easy to understand, not shaming one another if they're not doing something correctly, and just helping them figure out how to connect the dots. And again, I'm just so proud of our organization, top down, to enable us to do what we do and continue to improve that and make it replicable so we can all do it and not have to start from scratch.
Yes, thank you. Sophie, do you think that culture happens organically? Are there action items you can take to help build culture in your facility or your venue?
We have to be intentional, you have to be mindful, and you have to always ask yourself, why are we doing what we're doing, and how can we do it more sustainably? I think it's important to have a driver, but if everyone understands what we're trying to do, it will happen organically. And one of the ways that we ensure of that is communication is so important, just like we can't manage what we don't measure. So it's important to provide feedback in real time, whether it's to say thank you for doing such a great job to a particular concession stand or an area of opportunity. And we do that consistently. And so I think that's part of the success, is the open communication and being comfortable to not know what we don't know. We've done some great things, but it's a forever journey. We have so much more work to do. So I think having this open space to know that we can figure it out together, as long as we're trying to be more sustainable, is what opens up that culture, and it's great.
Excellent, thank you. Well, you mentioned measuring and measurement. Samantha, can you talk to us about what you find important to measure, and also what's next for your operation?
Yeah, of course. Well, I speak in terms of revenue. So measurement to me is dollars. So again, $4 million is what the sustainability program generated in terms of private events. I can truly equate events to being successful because of the sustainability program and booking those events because of what we have. So what's on the horizon is just really having those resources up front. I would say that because we're a 3-year-old venue, we've had tremendous success, and there's things that we're doing that we're the only stadium in the world that are doing some of the things we're doing. There's things that we could be better at. There's things that we are humbled sitting here today learning about some initiatives that we can take tomorrow. But it's constantly improving. And then from a sales side, from a corporate partnership side as well, it's bringing those conversations to the table before your client has a chance to get there. And I think that's what we're working on now. We're working with Silver and Black Hospitality with Levy, saying, okay, we want a full plant-based menu, not when the client asks for it, but I want to put that in my sales deck to begin with, to get their juices flowing. So if they are a client that are a little slow to the table on what is possible, we are driving that conversation. And that way we can support both clients, the clients that know exactly what they want and that are educated in the sustainability space, and the clients that don't know, and that we can help push them forward. So that is what is on the horizon for us.
Very good, thank you. Brittany, a long time ago, I was given the advice that when starting a sustainability program to grab low-hanging fruit. Do you have any recommendations for maybe a venue that's here today for the first time? What are some of those low-hanging fruits that they should look at?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the important thing too, if you're early on in your sustainability program, is to, one, find that low-hanging fruit, but also focus on one thing first, and then from there build your program, because it can be extremely overwhelming, because there's so many different things that you can look at. You can look at energy, you can look at water, you can look at waste, you can look at the food in your building, but find one thing and start there. And also, I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think collaboration is so important in our industry, and it's going to get us all where we want to go much quicker if we're collaborating with each other. And I know we all like to help each other and talk about our programs and share our lessons learned so we don't make the same mistakes. But I think figuring out where to start. So maybe that's waste. Maybe you don't have a recycling or compost program. Do you have compost facilities in your area? Maybe you just start with recycling if that's all that's available. And then how are you going to educate your occupants on that? Signage, new collection bins, and clear education. So I think just starting and definitely not being afraid to ask for help.
A follow-up question. I love what you said earlier about a closed loop opportunity. And, for the Kansas City Chiefs, we're always looking for this opportunity and haven't found success there yet. Do you have any recommendations on where we should go?
Yeah, so just speaking to our program and our reusable program we launched this season, creating that closed loop system, you need to have buy-in from all parties that are involved. So that includes, at least for us with the reusable foodware, that includes buy-in from our food and beverage provider, buy-in from our environmental services and housekeeping team that is responsible for collecting those reusables at the end of the night, and buy-in to just from leadership. They need to support the program and support it in a way that there's going to be resources put into educating your fans and guests, because that's the most important aspect of the program. And also, I think, gamification, which we've been talking about, I think, in some of these panels, but that incentive to the fan to do the right thing and gamify that closed loop system with reusables.
Thank you. Sofi, tell us about what's next for Atlanta Hawks.
Well, it's to continue operating more sustainably. I know that sounds kind of vague, but it's so true, and I think we complicate things. So it's looking at everything that we've done, continuing that, but doing it more efficiently. And really utilizing Goal as a platform to allow other members of ours to be able to replicate these solutions instead of starting from scratch. Some of our successes have been a direct result of processes and analyzing our first years of data, whether that's the way we go about collecting it. We've reduced 30% of our operating cost versus the amount of events that we've had increased. Next is figuring out how to implement automation to really drop that cost and make it more of a replicable solution. So I think there's so much to learn, really excited to learn from everyone, and I think we're in this together, so there's more work to be done for sure.
Did you hear what she just said? Reduce 30% operating costs. I mean, who wouldn't be excited about that, right? Yes, thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. All right. Samantha, let's transition a little bit and talk about what we'd like to leave the audience with to help increase a sense of urgency and action.
Yeah. The talking point I prepared is not what I'm going to speak to, because I prepared this a week ago, and I think I've learned a lot today and yesterday. And so I want to change what I was going to say and speak to the collaboration that I've already seen with corporate partnerships and venues and sustainability programs. I think that absolutely needs to continue. And when I say corporate partnerships, I also mean ticket sales, private events, those groups that are revenue generating but are almost the voice to the community and the clients. I think bringing those people to the table is something that I didn't realize was already happening in so many teams. And if it's not happening, I feel like it should, because it's just a way to partner, the venue and the team's initiatives with groups that can really propel you forward. And I think what OVG is doing with Climate Pledge and with Amazon is incredibly impactful and should be modeled other places. And I'm just so impressed by Rob Johnson. I feel like he's in a room with corporate partnerships going toe-to-toe and holding his own and just driving the true vision of what this venue means. So I've been so inspired by that, and I think that's something that everyone should walk away with and should bring to their own teams.
Thank you. Brittany, same question. How would you like to leave the audience with an increase of action regarding sustainability?
I think as venues, and especially with professional sports teams, we have so much power to influence people coming to our venues. And we also have so much power on how we operate our venues. I think of our venue as a mini ecosystem, and we have power in how that ecosystem operates, and embedding sustainability into the culture of your venue. And I think Sofi really touched on that in her success. I think that is super important to drive change to where it's not even like we have to push for it. It's just natural, and it's just already a part of the culture, and it's not even a question of, oh, we should do this. It's, we're going to do this. This is now the norm. So, yeah.
Thank you. Sofi, what would you like to leave the audience with?
I would say start where you are. We've heard that today. Gain momentum by pursuing things that are easy to obtain and easy to do to really get everybody on board and excited. If you go after really difficult goals, it's going to be a little bit defeating because, as we've said, sustainability is both very exciting but can be very overwhelming because there's so much work to be done. So bring everybody on board, gain momentum, and provide that feedback in real time. And I also want to say a shout out to you, Brandon, for wearing this beautiful tie because of this panel. But allyship is so important. So support one another. Speak up when there's an opportunity to connect the dots. That would be my takeaway.
Thank you.
Yep. Echoing Sofi's point a little bit, I would say I have 2 points. One, where I think NASCAR is a perfect example of you don't have to have a perfect strategy to start, you just have to start. And once you set those goals and those targets, then those become the North Star for your company, and all of your employees can band around how that impact will then affect their teams and their individual job functions, which leads to my second point of use your employees. We in this room are clearly passionate about this topic, but our employees are too, and they're just looking for guidance on how to get involved and how to be engaged. Provide resources, tools, tips, tricks. It's amazing to see the work that's happened over the past 6 months across NASCAR and how people are engaged and care about what we're doing and understand how their individual impacts or actions are affecting our overall strategy and our footprint. And those are our allies, and those are the people that are then going to go out to tracks and go to speak to fans and really make that impact for us. So use your employees. They care and they want to help.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great point. Our employees are key to everything that we do. So thank you. So culture, closed loop, these are all great points. And I just want to thank these ladies for their insight and the inspiration that they've left us with it today. So let's give it up for them. Thank you.